You want to die tonight?
You are now listening to Home of Halloween's You Run podcast, the horror movie review podcast run and controlled by you, our listeners. I'm Scott, and I'll be your host each week as I take you through the movies you've chosen for me to review. Now, let's find out what I'll be reviewing this week.
Have you two been playing with this? Taking turns scaring the wits out of each other? No wonder I can't get a good night's sleep. No, I don't want to hear another word. Now get back to bed, the lot of you!
So, the winner of the poll this week for Pucker Up is Paranormal Week, was The Conjuring 2. In Season 1, I reviewed The Conjuring. It only seems fair that Season 2, we do the sequel. I have got some seriously strong opinions on The Conjuring 2. I'm going to play you the trailer, and then I'm going to tell you what they are.
This is my home. Get out now.
No, this is not your house. Now, what's your name?
My name is Bill Wilkins, and I'm 72 years old.
What do you make of that voice?
Sounds confused. Is he senile?
The voice on this tape is coming from an 11-year-old girl. They're calling it England's Amityville. There is a family that desperately needs our help.
After everything we've seen, there isn't much that rattles either of us anymore. But this one still haunts me. Does it feel like the voice is coming from inside you?
More like it's coming from behind me. Like I'm being used.
Janet, are you all right?
Stop calling me Janet.
She's such a good girl. What is wrong with her?
An oppressing spirit will try to force you to commit the ultimate sin.
And what's that?
Murder, suicide, or both.
You believe us, don't you?
Sensing a presence?
I'm not sensing anything. All I can sense is their own fear.
Honey, you're bleeding. What is happening?
I had a premonition of your death.
Who's that?
The family's just a pawn. Something inhuman wants to kill you. If we keep doing this, you're going to die.
Okay, The Conjuring 2. I think the way I'm going to do this review is I'm going to give you my score, first of all. I hope you continue to listen so you can hear how I explain why I have given it the score that I have. And then I'll also give it a fear rating, and then we'll get into your 3-word reviews and other bits later in the show. So first of all, I'm going to score the movie. I score 1 to 10, 10 being the best movie I've ever seen, 1 being absolute dog shit, and 5 is middle of the road, average. Ticks all the boxes I expected that movie to tick. When I reviewed The Conjuring in Season 1, that got a very, very high score from me. The Conjuring 2 scores 4 out of 10, distinctly below average. I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of the movie in case you've not seen it. And then I'm going to get into the things I think this instalment of the Conjuring universe done incredibly well, and then the things they done very, very badly that then dragged my score down to a subpar level, well below what I expected this movie to deliver. So the movie starts with Ed and Lorraine in Amityville, and through a seance, Lorraine is reenacting the murders of Ronnie DeFeo. This leads to a meeting where she first meets the nun. The nun is a demon, and the nun shows her Ed's death. From here, we jump to Enfield. We meet the Hodgsons, which is Peggy and her 4 children, so 2 sons and 2 daughters. It starts with the children playing with a Ouija board, which I found fucking insane. So much so that I'd done a bit of research. And in the 60s and 70s, Ouija boards or spirit boards or whatever you want to call them were actually sold as toys, which I find absolutely mind-boggling. I personally have never played with a Ouija board. I've never seen anyone who has played with one. My theory on what comes after, I don't really know. But I know enough that I don't fuck with things I don't understand. So they play with the Ouija board. This brings on what I would call as a minor annoyance of a haunting. Some noises, some seeing things, nothing too bad. It also leads to the second eldest daughter, Janet, sleepwalking. The mum finds her sleepwalking. Peggy finds Janet sleepwalking. She's got a high temperature, so the following day she decides to give her the day off school. And this is where the movie really starts to ramp up a bit. And we get some really, really good scenes. So there's a succession of fantastic scenes. And had they continued in this vein, this movie would have been full points across the board for me. So the first scene we get to is a TV scene. So Janet's off from school. She's flicking through the channels. She puts the remote down when she's found a program she wants to watch, and the TV changes channel again. She turns to find the remote, and the remote has disappeared. With that, the TV starts changing channels on its own and then goes to static. So Janet gets up, and it's in the 70s, so it's a big old tubed back TV, and she gives it a couple of bangs to try and get it going again. The TV switches off, and in the reflection you see the ghost of an old man in the chair behind her, which she jumps, turns around, he's not there. She turns back to the TV, and you get a fantastic jump scare. It was one that was set up so well, and it got me as well. I jumped, I'm not afraid to admit it. You get the ghost Bill Wilkins lean over the TV and in a really gruffly voice say, "This is my house." And it worked fantastic. It was a brilliant, brilliant scare. Jump forward a little bit. You've got the 2 girls have heard some noises, then they've seen something in their room late at night. They've screamed the house down for their mum to come. In most haunting style horrors, when you get the haunting that centres around a child, the adults don't see anything. It's a case of they go, "Oh, it's over there," and then the parents see nothing, and they end up medicating their children or committing them or something like that. They dismiss the spiritual activity as something else. The Conjuring 2 does not do that. It breaks that rule, and I thought that was great. So you get a bedroom scene where the mum comes in, and it's the clip I played at the beginning of the show. The mum bollocks the kids for being up late and making noise, and then she finds the Ouija board and she tears that up and goes, "Right, now you all go to bed." With that, a massive dressing table, chest of drawer thing shoots across the room, hits the door and slams the door shut. This leads to the next scene of them all running out of the house and running to the neighbour's house for help. That scene is fantastic, because that is exactly what you would do. If I had a heavy piece of furniture shoot across my room and slam a door shut, I wouldn't be fucking staying there. I would be out the door like a shot. The neighbour comes over and investigates. He can't find anything, but he's called the police in case there's an intruder or anything like that. So the police come round. The police hear some knocks and some bangs in the wall, and they ask for a chair. So they get a chair from the kitchen, they put it in the hall. The policeman stands on it, listens to the noises, gets off the chair and goes, "I don't think there's anything here." Cue the best scene in the movie. The chair then proceeds to slide past the 2 policemen, turn and slide back into the kitchen and tuck itself under the table where it came from. Straight into them outside of the police going, "We can't help you." And this is where it leads into the police officer giving a card to Peggy and saying, "There's someone at my church who can help you." And this brings in a character called Maury Gross, who is an investigator, paranormal investigator, and he begins to investigate the activity going on in the house. We then jump to Ed and Lorraine Warren, who have been summoned by the church. I use the church in inverted commas because they don't specify what church. I'm assuming because they refer to it as the church, it's the Catholic Church. But they've summoned them and they've asked Ed and Lorraine to go to the house in Enfield to investigate and see if there's anything there that then the church could step in and help. Ed and Lorraine arrive. They meet with the other investigators over a very short space of time in the film. There's a couple of occurrences, but they deem that it is a hoax. This is in between Ed Warren doing lots of household chores for the family, fixing sinks and tables and things like that, which I thought was just stupid. But I'll get onto that in a minute. After they've left, they get on the train, they drop some... Ed drops some of his recordings and they cross over and he goes, maybe I should play those two together. He plays them together and he realises that the ghost is actually being controlled by the demon Valak, who earlier Lorraine saw wanted to kill Ed when she was at the Amityville house. This leads to them returning to the house, Ed getting in and Lorraine being locked out, Ed coming in and trying to save Janet, who's trying to throw herself out of a window, or the demon is trying to throw Janet out of a window. Lorraine gets in and leads to a final showdown between her and Valak. That is the entire movie condensed into a short space of time. The things this movie done exceptionally well is everything that's based around the real haunting, or the stories of the real haunting, the claims that they made. So the chair moving, we know that that's been documented by an actual policeman. That is allegedly to have happened. The basic activity that's going on and the jump scares and all of that is done fantastically well. Where this movie falls down is where they step away from what the original story was and they start adding stuff that shouldn't be there. There are things in this movie that are so far removed from the truth that I think they have a cheek and are really, really pushing close to the wind with false advertising to stamp on it based on true events. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to play you a quick ad from one of our sponsors. Then I'm going to get into the facts of this movie. The facts of this movie I'm going to do in two ways. I'm going to give you facts about the actual filming of the movie and the movie itself. And then I'm going to give you the facts of the real case, the real Enfield haunting. So you can understand how far removed it is from what they portrayed in The Conjuring II and why I've got such an issue with this movie. So here's the ad and then we'll get on with it.
Do you know when the voice is going to speak?
This is my house. And when I was here, I liked to dress up in lots of different things. And what I used to do was go to ilovefancydress.com. If only I'd known about discount code HOH sale, I could have got 10% off. That's right, 10% off to be dressed up in my ass.
Okay, so facts about The Conjuring 2. I'm going to do the ones about the movie first, because there's not a lot. If I'm honest, it was a pretty straightforward shoot. There was nothing that really surprised anyone. The cast, there was no sort of, who's going to play Ed or who's going to play someone else. There was none of that. It was always Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. Money-wise, this is a roaring success. And I know my opinions on this. I sit very firmly in the minority. So money-wise, this was $40 million to make, and it grossed $322 million. The Conjuring franchise as a whole has just tipped over $1 billion with the release of The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It. The only really interesting fact I could find is on the first day of filming, they had a priest come and bless the set. My issues with this all revolve around facts of what the original claims were. So the original claims, be it true or false or hoax or real or whatever, these are the actual claims that happened in real life. What this movie done, and James Wan and the writers, is they pushed it so far beyond that it become unbelievable, and it took me completely out of the story. And there was no clever devices, or so. For example, in the Conjuring 1, you had the clap game, and that was set up very early on, and then that delivered a really good payback later on in the film. In this, there's none of that. They're all, I would call them, cheap stunts to get a scare, and none of them really worked, especially not the ones that were added to the story. For example, the Crooked Man, who he looks like he's been jumped straight out of A Nightmare Before Christmas. He is Jack Skellington with a fucking bad hat. The CGI is shocking. I know that he's meant to move jittery as he does in the zoetrope, the toy that the boy holds, but it's complete fiction. It is complete Hollywood manifestation, and the reason they've done it is because they want a spin-off movie, and that is cheap, and it's nasty, and it's tacky, and I think they shouldn't fucking do it. They added that character purely so they could make another movie to make more money. He brings nothing to this story whatsoever. Which leads me on to the nun, or Valak. And again, she looks like Hell's Hooker. The makeup is so badly done. It's really overdone. There's some CGI in there at the end, which just isn't great. And she's the least scary character in the whole fucking thing. In the original story, it was a family terrorised by a poltergeist. And you didn't need to go beyond that. That would be scary enough if done in the right way. And there is a program that's done that in the right way. So there is it's a mini-series. It's a BBC mini-series, which is the Enfield Haunting, which is fantastic. It focuses purely on the main case, and it focuses on the investigators who were involved in this for a long time. And this is where my real issue comes. It is the portrayal of Ed and Lorraine Warren. So in the real life events of the Enfield Haunting, there was a paranormal team there for about 16 months, pretty much day in, day out, investigating and debunking and really working hard with the family to help the family and other bits. Ed and Lorraine Warren were not sent by the church, as the movie would have you believe. They weren't even invited by anybody. They saw that this was making a big media storm in the UK, jumped on a plane and flew over from the States. When they arrived, they turned up at the house and they spent one day. 24 hours is the most amount of time they investigated. There was no singing Elvis with the family. There was no repairing stuff around the house. There was no big return after they realised it was real and saving each other. It's all Hollywood bullshit. Ed and Lorraine Warren were scam artists. And in the first movie, I accepted that. And they deviated from the real story, but not like this. In this, they have found a story that they knew would get interest, especially in the UK market, because it's a world-renowned haunted place or haunted story. And then they injected Ed and Lorraine Warren into it in a way that they weren't involved. And that just pisses me off. Don't treat the audience like we're stupid. And I didn't I didn't like the fact that they felt that basically belittling the investigation that had happened for such a long time and making it all about Ed and Lorraine was right. It's not right. That's my rant about how I feel about what they'd done. Now I'm going to say about things that they could have done that they didn't, that were involved in the original claims. So one of the things in the original claims was when toys would shoot around the room and then drop to the floor, they couldn't be picked up because they were red hot. But they never used that in the movie. They didn't touch on that at all. They briefly touched on there's a scene where they catch Janet throwing stuff around and they say it's a hoax, and this is when they decide to leave. There was a lot more to it than that. There was a lot more catching them out, and there's actually a documentary on YouTube. If you search Enfield Haunting, you'll find it, where on camera the girls were messing around, like one of them nudges the other one and goes, "Shh, we know it's not real," on camera. And we know it was a hoax. It was definitely a hoax. And this actually all ended. So the Enfield Haunting went on for quite a while, and there was, I think it was about 19 months. And it ended when the two girls got into a school production of Grease. So here's my theory on the actual haunting. The haunting started shortly after, well, a couple of years after the release of a very, very famous haunting, possession style film, The Exorcist. My theory is the girls had seen The Exorcist and seen them play with a Ouija board, recreated it and created a story that got way out of hand. But they were too far in to rein it back. I don't think there was a real haunting. I think Ed and Lorraine went there purely to profit. And I really don't like the way it was portrayed to us. That being said, let me give it a fear rating. This gets a 4. It is a scary movie with some really good jump scares and some really good scares in it. None of which revolve around the nun, the zoetrope, crooked man, Jack Skeleton looking fucker. They all revolve around the actual ghost and the bangs and the bumps and the other bits that were in the original story. If they had stuck to that, this would have scored much, much, much higher. Anyway, that is enough of a rant from me. So let's hear what you have to say about this movie with your 3-word reviews.
I wonder what would happen if we tried talking to it now. Is anybody there? Is anybody there who wishes to communicate?
Here are your 3-word reviews of The Conjuring 2. Ghost Note 1986. Valak is evil. Video Force CA. Never saw it. And Scare Gallery. Scary cash grab. All 3 of our 3-word reviewers this week are from Instagram, so thank you very much to all 3 of you for providing the reviews for this show. Video Force CA is a custom video sleeve maker. The ones they make are fantastic, so please go and check them out. We've got Scare Gallery, who is a reviewer on Instagram, reviews horror movies, same as me, but gives a different take on some of them, so go and check out the reviews that they've done. And Ghost Night 1986 is a horror enthusiast who shares some really, really, really cool stuff on there. There's some cracking stuff that they share. So please go and check all 3 of those out. If you want to find them, in the bio to this episode is links to all of their social media. So go and follow the links and check them out and give them a follow, and I'm sure they'll appreciate all your support. Those were this week's 3-word reviews. I have to say, Scare Gallery this week nailed it on the head with Scary Cash Grab. And I do have a request from Video Force CA. They have asked that I can deliver their 3-word review in a Southerner fiction. So I am going to try my best, and here we go. Never saw it. That was crap. I apologise. It's the best I can do. I do declare that is the best I can do, sir. And those are your 3-word reviews. Thank you very much. Thank you to all three of our three-word reviewers. Apologies if I caused any offence by my terrible southern accent. I do declare I am terribly, terribly sorry, but it's the best I can do. I apologise if I've offended anyone. There's no offence intended. The three-word reviews for me are one of the most interesting and entertaining parts of putting these episodes together each week. I love seeing that your opinions can vary so wildly, yet you don't ever get snippy or nasty with each other. You will have a conversation and you talk about it, and it's almost like we're building a community of three-word reviewers, and for me that's incredibly rewarding. So thank you very much for letting me have that as part of this show. I'm truly am grateful. We have another feature on the show, which is Ask the Host. Now, you can get involved in Ask the Host any day of the week, however you want, through Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We're at Home of Halloween on all three of those. Any question that pops into your head: what are you wearing today? What do you think of this movie? What do you think of that movie? You reviewed this and you said that, but I don't think this. Whatever you want it to be, DM it to me. I will try my best to answer all of the questions throughout this season, whether it will be me or a guest answering them. I will get them all answered. Which leads me straight into this week's Ask the Host. Ask the Host. I'm not sure if I prefer the one we had on the last two episodes or that one, but I'm going to keep adapting that because it's a good laugh to put together. So this question this week comes through from Michael Audrey Myers on Instagram. And they ask, what character do I think will die in Halloween Kills? I'm going to answer it with the person I think, but I'm not going to explain why. And the reason for that is, I'm going to give a big spoiler away now. The season finale for Season 2 of the You Run podcast is a review with a guest of the original Halloween, where we're also going to talk about the Halloween franchise as a whole, including the Rob Zombie remakes and the new and the Halloween Kills and the Halloween Ends. But then also I want to talk about what I think comes after that, because I do not think it's done. So the person I think will die in Halloween Kills is Michael Myers. And I know that's really, really out there, and I don't know if anyone's going to buy it, but that's what I think. If it's not Michael Myers, it will be Laurie Strode. I do not think either or one of those main characters is not making it to Halloween Ends. That's my personal theory. If you disagree with that, or you disagree with anything else I've said in the show, especially my very, very harsh review and kicking to death the Conjuring 2, you can have your say. Go to anchor.fm/Home of Halloween. Record me a voicemail. It could be anything you want. You can tell me that I'm a fucking idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about, and Michael Myers and Laurie Strode will both make it to Halloween Ends. You can tell me The Conjuring 2 is a 10 and it's the best one of the franchise. Or you can agree with me. Whatever you want. Send me a voicemail. I will play it on the air for everyone to hear what you have to say. And that was this week's Ask the Host.
I understand that Janet is levitated.
When I was alive, I used to walk to the shop. I used to walk to the bus. If only I'd gone to shockwheels.com and used that discount code HOH sale, I would have saved my legs and probably lived longer. And I'd have got £25 off. So, if you're walking everywhere, don't go to shockwheels.com. Nah.
I hope you've all enjoyed my systematic annihilation of The Conjuring 2. The joy of the horror franchise, or any franchise, is we can all have our own opinions. And if you love this movie, then I'm all for you loving this movie. I just don't. I do not like this movie. And I can't get away from that. I watched it 3 times, believe it or not, before I'd done this review. Because I wanted to like it. Everything told me I should like it, but I just don't. It's just cheap and nasty grabs to do spin-off movies and make more money. And it's so removed from what actually happened, or the claims of what actually happened, that I just looked at it and just called bullshit. All the way through. Bullshit. Bullshit. Oh, the Crooked Man. No, that didn't happen. Oh, no, the nun. Oh, she's not scary. What the fuck? No, crap. And I just couldn't get my head around it. My final thought for The Conjuring 2 is a direct message to James Wan and the writers and anyone else who's involved in the Conjuring universe. Do better. For the love of God, stop treating us like we're stupid. Stop spoon-feeding us crap to lead us into other movies, and go back to making good quality original horrors like you did with Insidious. And if you want to see a good movie about a demon trying to throw someone out a window, go and watch Insidious 3. Infinitely better than this movie. That's the last thing I'm going to say on The Conjuring 2. What I'm going to tell you about now is next week, if I've got any listeners left, if I've not pissed you all off. So next week we have got an incredible guest on the show. Next week we'll be joined by host of Tonight with Bruce Martin on YouTube, Mr. Bruce Martin himself. If you don't know anything about Bruce, between now and when I release the episode next week, go and find him. Tonight with Bruce Martin on YouTube. Watch a couple of his shows. He is an incredibly funny and talented guy who hosts a show that covers everything from current affairs to movies to what he's doing tomorrow. It is such a good, fun show to watch. So please go and watch what he does. Give him a follow. Follow him on Instagram. He's a great guy. He's really supportive. And next week's show is incredible. I've already recorded with Bruce. Bruce took on Horror Not Horror and delivered a fantastic performance. I'm not going to tell you if he took the top spot, but what he delivered was pure gold. And his review of the movie next week is also absolutely spot on, to the point that he should probably be hosting this show, not me. Next week, it is Rolling in the Deep week with a movie hand-selected by Bruce. Please, please, please tune in next week, because next week is great. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for joining me week in, week out. I love the fact that I can reach you and that there are people who enjoy this show. It's such a great feeling. Also, a huge thank you to Shock Wheels and I Love Fancy Dress for supporting us. Obviously, we've got the discount code HOH sale on either one of their websites to get you a bit of discount if they've got anything that you want. Also, a massive thank you to Madman Audio. He supports us so much, more than anyone knows. He talks to me a lot, and he helps me, and he provides music, and he's a really, really great guy. If you've not gone and followed him yet, go and follow him. It's really, really not hard. Go find Madman Audio on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, wherever you are, and click follow. Click subscribe, because he will appreciate all of the love you can give him, and he will give you all of the love back. That's pretty much me wrapped for this week. Thank you very much. I love you all, and I'll catch you next week.
How does it feel living in a haunted house?
You don't get used to it. See, we was just a normal family before this.
It's been getting worse since Mr. Grove started talking to it.
You want to die tonight?